Hey everybody, welcome to our live today. I'm just so excited to be here with you and answer some of your questions. Babe, can you get me something to write on in front of me so I don't have to do it on the table? Okay, so first off, I just wanted to let you guys know that I'm super excited about my in-person free mini one-on-one consults that I'm doing tomorrow. So if you're local and you have more questions after I answer this tonight, or maybe you didn't get your questions submitted and you have other questions, I am doing a in-person free mini consults tomorrow night. We're having a ladies' night. We're going to play. We're going to have fun. We're going to do our nails. We're going to eat treats and have giveaways, and it's going to be a ton of fun. And I will just be doing one-on-one help. So we'll sit down and be able to talk, ask you questions, and then provide answers. So it's really nice because a lot of times I'm here, I have questions or I have different things that I kind of need your input on to really help sufficiently. But in this avenue, I'd be able to do that, and it's completely free. So you can just come and hang out and have a good time. So grab some friends and come check it out. It's in Provo tomorrow night at 7. So I will post the event details in the comments after I finish this video, and you guys can check it out and come. It should be a lot of fun. I'm really excited about it. Okay, great. So let's get started. So I'm just reading some comments on here. McCall is saying, Marietta, do you still have it? So if she signs up for email, she can get the newborn guide. McCall, I don't know if you're here right now, but yes, kind of. You can still subscribe to my newsletter and get the newborn guide. You can also go to my website, www.littledreamers.us, and right on the home page, you can click on something. It'll actually take you back to a Facebook Messenger and send you a download for the newborn survival guide, so you can kind of just have it instead of that link to my website. So we're kind of changing things. So McCall, I'll comment on this too and tell you. And then Darcy says, okay, great. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. We are going to start with Elisa Hall. Elisa says, my baby gets overtired easily, so I try not to keep him up for more than an hour. I put him in his bed, turn on the white noise machine, swaddle him, and put him in bed for a nap. He sometimes will go to sleep, but often will wake up after 45 minutes. I know he's still tired. If I pick him up and lay him on my chest, sorry, I thought I saw a bug, but I didn't. Lay him on my chest, he will nap for 2 hours. How do I get him to nap that well without holding him? He is 7 weeks old. Okay, Lisa, so a couple things about newborns. If you don't have my newborn survival sleep guide, you will probably want to get it because it has a ton of great tips for this age in there. You can find that on my website, www.littledreamers.us. Go in there, it's on the home page. You have to scroll down a little bit, but click on it, it'll take you to Facebook, and then it'll, you click on it or comment, I forget, and it'll download it or give it to you right there, and you can download it to have it. So that will probably be a little bit more thorough for you, but to answer your question, first let's kind of go over what's normal for a newborn. So newborn naps, anything from 30 to 90 minutes is a normal nap for newborn. So 45 minutes is a normal nap. I'm not worried about that length, but I understand that, you know, if he wakes up and he's super ornery and you can tell that he needs more sleep, that maybe he does, right? Oh, excuse me. So it sounds like you're doing a ton of good things for him. You've got the noise machine. At this age, we want the swaddle. I don't know what his bed is, so I don't know what he's sleeping in at this age. Usually newborns need a lot of soothing to sleep, so they need a lot of soothing to sleep, and they need soothing to stay asleep sometimes. And so if he sleeps really well on you, he might just need something like more snug. I really like the rock in place because it kind of like keeps them snug in and helps them feel like tight and secure and just warm and kind of like they're being hugged. So you might need something like that. He might need, there's a couple other, you know, variations of maybe you put him in a carrier and you just let him sleep on you. I do not believe you can spoil a newborn. I think that it's just fine to have a newborn sleep on you or in a carrier if that's where they will sleep. From 0 to 4 months, or 16 weeks, we're just trying to survive with our little babies. And so he's napping okay. If you want to get him to nap longer in his bed, there's not really a ton that you can do as far as like sleep training him or letting him cry out or anything like that. The only thing you can do is provide more things to help soothe him or to, get him to transition from one sleep cycle to the next. Does he need a binky in there? Does he just need to be rocked? If you have the rock and play or something that you can rock him and like soothe him back to sleep, that might work. But also if he's awake at 45 minutes and you want to get him up and then put him back down in, less than an hour, that's fine too. So once he hits 16 weeks, then you can kind of do some more interventions to lengthen out naps if their naps aren't at least an hour at that point. Some babies, it takes a little bit more time to lengthen out naps, but there are a few tricks that you can do when they're a little bit older, but I wouldn't recommend doing those at 7 weeks just because their ability to self-soothe really isn't there. So you're just going to want to help soothe him, help him transition from one cycle to the next in order to lengthen out those naps. Okay, so let's move on to Ashby Thompson. She says, I made a plan and started sleep training yesterday night, Tuesday. It went amazingly well. Awesome. However, naps are still as bad as ever. My baby will be 4 months next week, goes down to bed at 8:30 and wakes up around 8. Nap times are super, super variable. But after his first one at around 10, I make sure he doesn't stay awake for more than 2 hours. Okay, in between naps, since I just started cried out, I'm not sure how he self-soothes. He used to use the binky to fall asleep, but I just took that away. We have a great bedtime routine that I think helps him fall asleep. My question is, how do I make him a good napper? Will it just come after a few days of sleep training? I don't want him to get overtired because I know that will affect how well he sleeps at night. Yes, so here's a couple suggestions for you. So, and Lisa, this is kind of piggybacking onto your question because this baby is at least 16 weeks, and so we're going to talk about how to lengthen those naps at 16 weeks. She says, I should add that his naps last about 30 minutes, and then he cries for 5 minutes and goes to sleep for another 5 to 15 minutes, cries for another 5 to 10 minutes, and repeats until I finally go get him. Okay, so this is what I would suggest for you, Ashby. I would say 2 hours is a little bit long for a baby this age. Typically, I like my 4-month-old babies on a 3-nap schedule, typically starting naps at around 8:30, 11, and 3. Now that's, 8:30, 11:30, and 3. And that's for a baby at 4 months who's on 3 naps. He might be on 4 or 5 naps. I wouldn't do 5, but I would do 4. But that's also for a baby that's waking up at 7, so you'll want to adjust because he's not waking up until 8. Typically at 4 months, they really are only going to be awake for about an hour and a half. So that's what I would suggest is putting him to bed a little bit earlier than you are, probably at each nap throughout the day. It's normal for the wake up time to be consistent at this age and the first nap start time to be consistent at this age, but nap lengths will vary throughout the day. So be aware of that it's very normal to be unpredictable. I know that's not very fun right now, but it should even out within the next month to month and a half. Where he should be sleeping more regularly. Now, because you are doing the cry it out, I do recommend, say you put him to bed at 9 o'clock or 9:30, and I would say that first nap can start anywhere between 9 and 9:30. That's when I would start it. And maybe towards the end of the day, you have a 2-hour wake period, but not at the beginning, and you kind of lengthen those wake periods out as you go. So say you put him down at 9 o'clock, say he falls asleep at 9:15, say he wakes up at 9:45. Okay, I want him to stay in his room for an hour from the time that he fell asleep so that he is getting a nap for 1 hour, even if he's waking up in between there. So you wouldn't go in and get him until 10:15. That's going to help him lengthen out his naps because he'll be in a dark room where he's supposed to be sleeping, which he knows that he's supposed to be sleeping in there. And so his body kind of self-regulates and realizes, oh, okay, I need to be sleeping longer. Sometimes they'll wake up and they just need to self-soothe in between that wake up in between the sleep cycles. They just need to self-soothe back to sleep. So keeping him in his room and not disturbing him for at least 15 minutes, but up to an hour from the time that he fell asleep. A good nap is just 1 hour, so if he's been sleeping for 1 hour or been in his room for 1 hour, then you can go get him and just try again for the next nap. Okay, so hopefully that helps. Kara Ham, I'm trying to write down times so that I can orient people to the times that I'm answering their questions so they don't have to watch the whole video. So Karen Ham says, how do I get my 6-month-old to 2 to 3 naps a day instead of 4 to 5? Okay, so I would start, Kara, if your baby's still sleeping 4 to 5 naps, then I would adjust it 3 naps, and I would do that schedule that I talked about a little bit earlier. I do, and you can adjust based on wake time, but for a 7 a.m. wake time, I do like an 8:30 nap, anywhere between, starting a nap between 11:30 and 12, and then like starting that third nap anywhere between 3:30 or 3 and 3:30. And then your bedtime can be as early as 6, probably no later than 7 for this age, and that would be like a good 3 nap schedule, maybe 7:30, depending on how long naps are and things like that. At 6 months, you really do want to use a by the clock time. So if you want to adjust your baby from 4 naps to 3 naps, just start only putting them down for 3 naps and have your wake up time, and then have your by the clock times that you're putting your child to bed and keep them up until those times, and then put them down for a nap. Again, go back and listen to what I recommend for Ashby right before you, starting at 6 minutes and 20 seconds, to see how to lengthen out those naps if those aren't long enough, because I'm not sure what naps look like for you. And then we're also, the question next, Jen Richards, we're going to talk a little bit about 6-month-old as well. So we'll read her question. That might help you a little bit more, Karen. She says, my baby is almost 6 months. She eats only 1 to 2 ounces between 6 a.m. and 4 p.m. You mean 6 to 2 ounces like a feeding? Or do you mean like 6 to 2 ounces high? Do you mean 1 to 2 ounces per feeding? Or do you mean 1 to 2 ounces total between the hours of 6 a.m. and 4 p.m.? And Jen, if you're here, you can let me know, but that's like crazy nothing. And I bet that your baby's eating a lot at night. Let's see. The rest of the evening and night, I nurse her often. I take her to bed and she sleeps latched onto me, eating throughout the night. I have been trying to put her to bed in her crib. If she nurses and falls to sleep, I can lay her down in her crib for about 1 hour. Okay, I'm just making some notes here so I don't forget. So she sleeps 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. asleep in her crib. She wakes up crying and will not fall back to sleep unless I grab her and take her to bed. Monday through Friday, she naps around 9:15 to 11, and then 2:15 to 3:15. So she's on a 2-nap schedule. So that's kind of what a 2-nap schedule would look like. It's one possibility. There's a few different possibilities, but that sounds like an okay schedule to me. Here's my question. Once she wakes up from her evening nap, in my mind, it's bedtime. Yes, that is bedtime. That's not a nap. 7 p.m. is bedtime. Okay, so she's on 2-nap schedule. 7 p.m. is bedtime. In her crib, do I nurse her and rock her back to sleep? Most of the time, I cave in and take her to bed because I'm so tired. Okay, yeah, so Jen, this is what's happening. Your little one has what we call a sleep association, and her sleep association is nursing. And the tricky part, it sounds like, I don't know how she's napping. Is she napping in her bed, or are you nursing her while she naps too? I'm assuming she's napping in her bed. It sounds like you're nursing her to sleep for naps and bedtime, and so it's happening for her, and my bet is that it's only going to get worse as she gets older, is that she has a very strong association with the need to be nursing or sucking and to be sleeping. Probably to the point that she can't fall asleep without nursing, but then it's only going to get worse and maybe it's already there, where she can't sleep unless she's sucking and nursing. So I don't know how long this has been going on. If she was a good sleeper when she was early, then it probably started around 4 months. If she wasn't a good sleeper and she kind of has always needed this, and it's probably just going to continue to get worse. What needs to happen is she needs to learn how to fall asleep on her own, so we have to break that sleeping association between eating and sleeping, so that she can fall asleep without it, and then she can stay asleep without it. So what that means is nursing her before it's time to go to sleep, and then putting her to bed awake and letting her self-soothe. I don't have enough information to offer you a ton of guidelines, because I don't know what you're doing. I don't know, if she's swaddled, or what else we could do for a bedtime routine. As far as nursing all night long, that's when she's getting all of her calories. So we actually kind of want to switch. She doesn't have her days and nights confused as far as when she's sleeping and when she's awake, but she has her days and nights confused about when should I be eating most of my food and when shouldn't I. So you always want to talk to your pediatrician and see how often they recommend feeding at night, because we don't want to starve your baby, but we do want to flip that so that maybe she's getting 1 to 2 ounces all night long, or more if your pediatrician needs it. And then, during the day, she's getting the bulk of that. So you can gradually shift that, or you can kind of rip it off like a Band-Aid and shift it that way. But she needs to be sleep trained for sure in order for any of this to work. So Jen, you'd be an awesome candidate for my sleep plan package, which includes an in-depth intake form or an hour consultation where we talk about exactly what's going on, what we need to do to fix it, sleep training methods, answer all your questions, you get a personalized sleep plan, which will include all the information that you need, guidelines, do's and don'ts, to be successful. And then you'd get 2 weeks of support while you're implementing it and making it happen. Otherwise, I would go check out my blog post entitled Frequently Asked Questions About Sleep Training. Kind of learn what that is and why that's necessary for her to improve. Okay, let me know if you have any other questions. I'm happy to help if I can. And if you're interested in that sleep plan package, then we can get you scheduled for a 15-minute consult and I can answer all of your questions there about it. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to Danielle. Danielle Forum. I don't know how to say last names or names. I'm horrible. So I'm sure I said that wrong, but I always feel like I have to say the full name so that they know for sure I'm talking about them. I don't know why I feel that way. Okay, Danielle. And Danielle, I think I know you. I think you're another twin mom that I know, but I might be wrong. And I don't know. I guess we'll see. You can tell me in the comments if I am, or if we do or not. Or I'm just your name, or if not, then your last name is familiar to someone that I do know. Okay, we're going to go on. I'm going to start talking about the question now. She says, my son is 9 months and generally sleeps well at nighttime and goes to bed in his own crib, drowsy, and falls asleep on his own around 8 p.m. Awakes between 4:30 and 5 for a bottle and goes back down for another 2 to 3 hours, usually waking around 8 a.m. Okay, so we got an 8 to 8 schedule, sometimes earlier, sometimes later. Our issue is nap time. The kid hates naps. He fights it like crazy. Okay, so the first thing I would do to help regulate nap time is to wake him up at the same time every day. So if he's not awake by 8 o'clock, I would wake him up because that's going to impact naps. So let me finish reading your question. Up until about a week ago, I was giving him a bottle and laying down with him on my bed until he finally gave up the fight and fell asleep for about a half hour. Now that he's crawling everywhere, I've been trying to have him nap in his crib. For the first nap of the day, he usually goes down after being awake for 3 to 4 hours. And at 9 months, I would just do 3 hours. But again, at 9 months, we're going to want to do naps by the clock and we're not focusing on wake times. We just want to get his body in a rhythm of sleeping at certain times throughout the day, okay? So if he's waking up at 8, then I want a nap time at 11 a.m. So if he wakes up one day at 7:30, nap time is still at 11 a.m. Does that make sense? Okay, so I give him his bottle, his eyes are rolling in the back of his head, and then I put him in his crib. Bam, playtime. So I would move the bottle a little bit earlier. So I'd give him a bottle at 8 a.m., and then I do breakfast somewhere in there, and then I do another bottle at like maybe 10:20 or 10:30, and then I'd give him a few minutes with no bottle between his nap, and then put him down for his nap. He wants nothing to do sleep. It's about 30 to 4 minutes playing, crying, and me laying him back down. I think naps are really hard to go in and like lay him down. Just because every time he sees you and every time you come in, we're just reinforcing the don't sleep because you'll get to see mom and I'll come in. And so naps are really hard. I think nighttime is easier to do checks on, but naps, because it's only an hour. Like I only like to leave kids in their room for an hour. I think let's just leave him in the room for an hour and let him figure out how to lay down if he pulls himself up or something like that. So your checks and laying him back down probably aren't helping him get over the regression. They're probably just keeping him stuck in it. Occasionally he will play for about 15 minutes and then go to sleep on his own. That's kind of what we want. 15 minutes is a great time. This nap lasts about 45 minutes, which means he is having problems soothing on his own because that's about one sleep cycle. We want naps to be at least an hour. So if he wakes up at 45 minutes, make sure you leave him in there for 15 minutes to try and lengthen out that nap. He's then usually awake for another 3 hours or so. So if that first nap is going to be 11 to 12, then we're going to do the second nap at 3 p.m. And so I don't want you to do 3 hours or so. I want you to do the next nap at 3 p.m. The second nap of the day is the nightmare nap. He never goes down without a battle. He's clearly exhausted. Yeah, he's probably overexhausted because everything is just a little too late. That first nap is a little too late. It's a little not long enough. And if we're putting him down at inconsistent times day to day, then his body isn't in a good rhythm. So he'll fight nap for upwards of an hour. Yeah. So again, 1 hour. If he doesn't fall asleep in 1 hour, you get him out. But if he can fall asleep in an hour, that's good. At this point, I don't know what to do. I go between keep fighting for the nap he clearly needs and questioning if at this point it's too late, too close to bedtime and give up and deal with super cranky baby until bedtime. Yeah, so 3 to 4 if he doesn't fall asleep. See, and I I'm like, oh, that is kind of late for me. But I like the 7 a.m. wake up, so that's where my bias comes in. You don't have to do that, but my bias is like a 7 a.m. wake up, 10 to 11 nap, and then a 2:30 to 3:30 nap, because then you have a little bit of leeway, right? He has to nap, if he can nap anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes, that's okay, and you can still wake him up, but I don't really want him sleeping past 4 because that can really, interfere with bedtime. And then if he's not sleeping past 4, then 8 is a pretty late bedtime, and I would move that up to like 7:30. So hopefully that helps adjust his schedule and give you an idea of what to do for naps, Danielle. Okay, so Chloe, we're going to go ahead and go to you, and you have 2 different questions. So the first one is for a 14-month-old. She says, my 14-month-old has been sleeping amazing since 7 months, 7:30 p.m. to 7 a.m. The last month, though, he keeps waking up about 3 a.m. and will not fall back asleep for an hour or hour and a half. My husband and I would do check-ins every 5 to 10 minutes, but it's not working. So maybe stop doing check-ins if it's not working. He takes 2 naps a day, one from about 9:30 to 11 and the second from maybe about 1:30 to 3:30. Okay, so maybe what I would try doing is shaving some time off of his naps. Eventually so at 14 months, he could potentially go down to 1 nap, but he's napping to 3.5 hours in the day, which is my maximum amount of sleep during the day. So if we can shave some time off of his naps, then he probably will stop waking up at night. He just is kind of getting too much sleep. So what I would suggest doing is transitioning, like shaving off some time when he sleeps. So he's waking up at 7 a.m., he's going down at 9:30. So you could potentially move that first nap back to 10. So do like a 10 to 11. And then I would move his afternoon nap. I'd move it like maybe 2 to 3:30 and see how he does. Keep that kind of schedule going for 2 weeks and see if that fixes it. If it doesn't, I wouldn't take any time off that morning nap, but you can continue to shave another 30 minutes off of that afternoon nap, so it's down from 2:30 to 3:30. Do that for 2 weeks. If it still doesn't help after 2 weeks, he might be ready to go down to 1 nap. Okay, and then Chloe also says my 2.5-year-old goes to bed at 7:30 and 7:30 and has been waking up at 5:30 a.m., which is such a joy. How do I get him to sleep in longer? He takes 1 nap a day around 1 p.m. for 1.5 to 2.5 hours. 2.5-year-old. Okay, so the first thing I would do is make sure that his nap is no longer than 2 hours. So if he's going down at 1 p.m., I want him up by 3 p.m. You can go ahead and keep bedtime at 7:30. That's fine. And you may even need to begin shaving more time off of that nap. At 2.5, you may need to do I'd like it to start at 1. If he's going to sleep easy at 1, I'd like it to stay there, but then you might want to try no longer than 2 hours. No longer than a 2-hour nap for up to 2 weeks to see if that affects it. And if it doesn't, then I would maybe go down to, 1 hour and 45 minutes. And then if that doesn't help it after a while, I'd go down to 1 hour and 30 minutes. You can continue to shave off by waking them up earlier. If he's waking up at 5:30, make sure that he is staying in his room until at least 6 a.m. So that he can continue to know, okay, this is where we sleep and it's dark in here, so my body will get better at sleeping, assuming I'm not getting too much sleep during the day. Okay, so those are our questions for today. Thanks so much for participating, you guys. Again, I'd love to see you all tomorrow night at my ladies' night, or we'll just be having a good time, and I'll be able to talk with you one-on-one about your baby. So if you have other questions or want more information about what we've discussed, check it out. I'd love to see you all there. Until next week, I will see you guys here. Share with your family and friends, and let's see if we can get more babies and mommies sleeping better. Okay, thanks guys. See ya. Bye-bye.